Hello there and welcome! I got a new build guide for you, and this time it is the Primal Sabertooth time. So, we got a very chaos heavy and a very wealthy build here, because the Primal Sabertooth is a very rich guy. The Ashland provinces that you see here yield all extra gold. The Ash Megalith is a super high gold producer, and the build itself is fun, powerful from turn 1 on, and yeah, I really enjoyed my time with that one. I hope so do you. We are going to go over the traits and cultural perks first. So I went for a pretty robust package because I wanted to use the Culture's base roster as much as possible. Bulwark makes it tier 1 shields really matter, and apart from that, everybody gets that bonus when they're going into defense mode, so that is really a big package of resilience for your dudes. Hardy is just more of the same, and the +8 hit points are really useful. Light-footed, I went for that because I felt like that made a huge difference for the Primal Chargers. That's your tier 2 shock units. If they can act out of your backline, they become infinitely more useful, and apart from that, light-footed is always a nice to have. Enjoyed this package a lot. Feel free to adapt it to your own liking, but I really felt like Bulwark and Hardy went really well into this build, as we are postponing the support path a little bit, and we're working on the offensive parts. So I really noticed that this helped me out a lot. Good. Cultural traits. First up, I want to explain the Ash Sabertooth to you. This buddy here gains gold out of Ashlands, like I said. We can farm on Ashlands, and we have Primal Sabertooths that we can summon. These dudes do damage to another neighboring unit in the vicinity when they attack, and they inflict burns. This perk, that over jumping attack, is inheritable via the Ash Sabertooth's boon, and this means your units, when they are lit, they can do AoE. Mini AoE, but nevertheless, it really falls into into the whole picture of the battle quite heavily, the amount of extra damage that this thing does whenever it is active. The other really nice thing that the Ash Sabertooth provides is a pouncing critter that can jump on a unit, but it needs a clear shot. But it's a really nice thing, as this makes this unit pretty mobile. I really enjoyed that guy, as he does really a lot of damage. I went here with mana channelers and gifted casters. If you followed my previous primal guides, you might know these already, but currently I haven't found any combo that beats this, as long as the basic summon of the Primal Culture stays that strong. I don't know how long it will though. I feel as if nerfs might be incoming. Anyways, we are summoning a lot of units with that build, so we are not only utilizing this for an early cheese, don't you think anything wrong of me, this is also useful for the entirety of this build, because you really do notice the -50 mana cost. And it also just lets them starter rank higher. It's a small but nice effect. Gifted Casters makes combat spells cheaper, which is just all over the board good for your mana budget, because I can tell you one thing: if you are fielding a lot of units with all the summons and all those things, your mana will really decrepify quite quickly. You can melt through it, and it is really useful. Alongside with that, you gain some combat casting points. You could, if you would, want to switch this out for a weaker early game. This is absolutely viable. I think you could perfectly go for runesmiths or whatever tickles your fancy at that point. But mana channelers, I really feel like that is pretty much a must-have here, in my humble opinion. Anyways, that's the basics. Now to the tomes. Here I went for a mixture of starting out with Zeal. We go here for the wonderful Legion of Zeal first and foremostly, in all honesty. Gets us some extra damage, doubled against condemned units, and it is widespread. Our whole roster is benefiting from that. We have polearms, we have shields, we have shocks. We also gain I don't have any in my armies currently. We have also ranged. We gain access to skirmishes as well. And this is all of the border really nice thing. It also enables you to use Inspiring Chant to put 2 strengthened stacks on top of your units in addition to the moral bonus, so it's really nice. We have a summonable swarmer, which is really, with all the add-ons that we got for tier 1 units due to our racial traits, not bad at all. If you need to fill your ranks, these guys come in really nicely. A sweet little mini nuke to inflict condemned, and a production enhancer. This is especially good for the primals because we have a stupidly high food income anyway, so you can easily transform that. If you have the research points, this is really good for the primals. Really, really good. Circle of Zealotry, well, can make your cities a little bit more stable, can be really interesting for the later stages of the game, as a matter of fact. The second tome I went for is Pyromancy. This one is exchangeable with evocation. I went for pyromancy though, as I found it is a thematically much better fit than the lightning theme, but it is really completely okay to go evocation if you'd prefer to. The whole build would work excellent with that as well. But here, pyromancy. We enhance our melee units and our ranged units. In this build, it is mostly for the skirmishers, but, well, if you want to field a couple of tier 1 archers, this makes them hit a tad bit harder, especially since they have a chance to inflict burning. Never a bad thing, because we hit harder against burning targets. Pyromancers are really good, as well as the lesser magma spirits. You can decide for yourself which ones you want. The magma spirits are more on the long-termish thing because you eventually want to evolve them into the tier 3 magma spirits where they really start to be something. Or you go for the pyromancers with a more flat power curve. They come with an AoE nuke right from the get-go, which is just outright amazing. I really like this, as this makes our build more diverse. Just keep in mind that you will yield less damage out of these battle mages than out of all your other units, and it requires some next tome to make these battle mages truly shine, so don't rely too heavily on them. They can really be not as good as the other units in your roster, but we're going to see why they are excellent for our build later down the road. We also gain access to Immolate and Ignite. And Immolate is really nice as we are setting people on fire left and right, so you can use that as a sweet 1 hex radius nuke if you have any spell points available for that, since you are summoning a lot. Can be a bit of a problem. The Ritual Pyre, well, if you are able to crank out a lot of foresters before everything turns into ashlands, can be quite useful. Okay, tier 2, Mayhem. This is where we go. First, I felt like it was a really excellent first pick, and Marks of Misfortune is where we want to go to. This enhances the entire backline, and here our battle mages start to be really cool as they inflict misfortune. Misfortune is amazing. It is such a powerful beast in terms of disabling the enemy's capability of hurting your people. Mind you that your supporters, since the wolf update, inflict 2 stacks of that, because they are only a single action unit, making it even much better for them. So this makes your units take less damage, and the enemy inflicts damage to themselves when they're fumbling. Gremlins are excellent. You can really, really rely on these little guys, as they are hard to kill, easy to mass up, and they do some decent damage as they benefit from both the enchantments. They double dip into Searing Blades and Fury Arrows, which means both of their attack modes are buffed. Really good stuff. As you see here, in our build we have a really nice mixture of damage types with that. On top of that, Curse of Misfortune is a 2 hex radius debuff, which is amazingly strong. Seriously, 2 hex radius is huge. You can inflict a lot of debuffing with that, which will lower the enemy's damage curve massively. This is a real powerhouse of a debuff. Infectious Insanity is a little bit nerfed now, as it is no longer a guaranteed inflict. I'm a little bit sad about that, but if you manage to pull it off, since infectious insanity has a chance to spread itself over other people, you just put that on somebody with a high attack density, and then they triple whack somebody, and then you hope it just spreads. I have really managed to put an entire battalion to a halt with that one. Really nice spell. Okay, so confusion. Good siege project if you have the research slot open for it and you need to take down a lot of cities. This is really good because the displacement and the misfortune hits like a truck, and 3 fortification damage is a strong one as well. The other tier 2 tome we pick up is Famists. Here we go a little bit into a supporty way, and I also found that combining the Mistling and the Gremlin in one build led me eventually to something that I really didn't expect to be that good. You can make little skirmisher battalions that are just a pain to deal with. They're super hard to kill, they deal a lot of damage, and you can just summon them if you have the mana left open. Mistlings are, unlike the Gremlins, tier 3, and yeah, they just hop backwards when they hit somebody, and they randomly debuff with their ranged attacks. They're absolutely nuts. I love them. Staves of Mist gives your supporters another nice healing and buffing method, because Clinging Mist does make the enemy miss you more, and once you're fey touched, you also gain random positive status effects on top of that. You can also place mist clouds with Fey Embrace, and lingering mists, well, I'm not a big fan. I feel like that is just something where... Can we please rework that? Because that's one bland spell. You can easily skip over that. I really don't see the huge potential except for camouflaging your units. That can be in PvP maybe something really cool. But for PvE, I wouldn't know what to use it for. Maybe I'm just dumb. Let me know in the comment section. Baywater Pond. We gain mana for foresters. You see, we are really interested in foresters with this build. And don't forget to smack the Fey Blessing on your heroes as well. Tier 3, we head on over completely into Chaos. This is where all goes down to Chaos now. Pandemonium, I would recommend Burst, as Havoc Magic is stupidly powerful. It got increased in the Wolf update from 30 to 60%, and here again effects are increased. That means supporters inflict 2 stacks of a random status if possible. Nice stuff. Really nice stuff. From that point on, your battle mages still don't inflict too much damage, but they are debuff spreading machines that are really not to be trifled with. In the end of everything, Chaos Eaters are the best battle mages for this build to pick up, as we have random damage types. That's pretty nice, hard to resist, and these guys also have Havoc Magic running for themselves. And on top of that, they can also just heal themselves and deal damage by stripping negative status effects. It's basically a nuke based on negative statuses, and this is really a sick combo, because we are already inflicting burning, misfortune, and more random things. These guys have a lot to work with. Vessels of Chaos gives us extra damage on top of that, and once you have that, you really will notice that everybody in your army deals a good amount of damage. Inside Revolution gives you the ability to spawn brigand and pirate camps and mass hysteria. Really cool stuff, but you never know what's inside the back there. Tome of Devastation is where we head towards next. We gain flame burst weapons, which makes everything go explode that we kill with our melee guys. Would strongly recommend you to go for melee last hits henceforth. And you also gain some critical hit chance, which is just amazing. This makes your own cultural roster shine. Once you have that enchantment running, you've really got no more problems to make your baseline roster hit like a truck as well. Focus of Devastation gives your backline also the ability to cancel defensive modes. This is insanely good, and we also gain the ability to destroy fortified obstacles, but the defense mode cancel thing is really wacky. The rest of the spells here are all dealing better with taking cities, and the Warbreed, if you have the resources, they make up a real good replacement for your cultural tier 2 units, as they are basically the same, just better. End of the line. And at the end of this, go for the other tier 4 Chaos Tomes, as we are now going down the road for turning ourselves into fiery creatures, as Scion of Flame will be giving you fire resistance and immunity to burning, which is really excellent. You also gain a real nice AoE nuke, we can blast units, and Demonic Focus is where your supporters and battle mages get a real nice buff for that. What I really love about this is with Demonic Focus, you don't need to heal your backline anymore. You just keep killing, and they heal themselves off of that. I love that. This is really amazing. And Golden Horde, yeah, I mean, it is just random tier 1 units, but it's there and it's available. Demon Gate, on the other hand, gives you then the ability to transform things and destroy armies while doing so. Really nice terrain warfare. We can summon gremlins in the vicinity of a city. Mind you that you can use that against the enemy, and you have start with up to 5 gremlins. That is just stupid. We gain the ability to summon demons, and, well, I personally think this could be replaced with something else to your liking. I just found it a real nice finale for this build. Okay, moving on over to the strategy pod. This build is a loaded gun right from the get-go. You just want to rush as quick as possible to the tier 2 units. Don't hold yourself back to recruit a couple of tier 1 extra units, as they all stay useful. The Primal Darters, we don't have a real replacement for archers in this build. No archers, I'm sorry, but we're using, you can use those skirmishers to a as a really powerful substitute for that, but you can bring them up, and if they ever die to attrition, you can just replace them with something better. And the Protectors, they are really good. They come to a 9 and 4 defense rating when they go into defense mode, which is really a lot. Bulwark adds up to a massive amount of shieldiness on these guys, and I keep being surprised how hard they are to, how hard it is to kill them, even though they are just tier 1 units. Once you got yourself your animists, yeah, it is the usual business. You can go for like this. If you have 3 animists going, 2 animists smack the spiritual healing on animist 3, and then you just summon a Sabertooth out of that in one turn. And yeah, these guys are battlefield summoners and healers, and to add insult to injury, your whole build revolves around letting these guys shoot and do damage, and therefore spam your army full with these guys, as they are a really versatile part. Damage dealing wise, you want to have Primal Chargers. You really should have more Primal Chargers than Protectors. The Protectors are more thought as either frontliners where you need them, or in the center of things where they can just AoE spread their defense mode. So, since we are light-footed, you can place down your Protectors really well, because we don't need to worry about units passing through one another. Pyromancers, like I said, don't rely too heavily on them. Their AoE nuke can be really good, and if you see enemies that are vulnerable to fire, wow, let's go for it. But I went here, for example, into the exact opposite. I had a Dragon Lair here that really pretty much invalidated their entire value. So be careful around these. They can be a real powerhouse, but before your tier 2 and tier 3 tomes, they are relatively irrelevant for your damage curve, and pretty much everything else would be better. But once you have all those nice enchantments going, they are really good. And yeah, Ancestral Wardens, powerhouses in your entire roster. They are jumpy, just like the Sabertooth, and they can deal a lot of damage. They can withstand a substantial beating. They are lovely. They're really good tier 3 units, and you can mass produce them. So with this build, I'd strongly recommend you to have a lot of tier 3 town halls, so you can print out Ancestral Wardens, as many as you can. Another note at the end of this, the Ash Megalith is insane. try to place them down where they are encircled by ashlands, and you see that this little thing alone, it cranks out such tremendous amounts of money. And that's why these guys are super wealthy. So it is really easy to use that gold advantage to buy that stuff. And you should hurry your productions as much as you can. This is one of your hidden superpowers with this build, because you can't just invest money like crazy. So go for warfare. Since you're a very chaos heavy build, you have a lot of Imperium traits that reward you for this playstyle. I went with this build into a war with this city on turn 6 on hard difficulty. Went on top of them without any problems. So this is crazy strong. You have a really, really strong streak, and the only downside that I see is that you cool off towards the mid and late game a little bit. And my recommendation at that point is you should really try and get yourself some extra units going via the many chaos traits, or you try and find out what you can get yourself via the Rally of the Liege. This build is excellent at utilizing whatever it gets. You have buffs for fighters, battle mages and supporters, and archers. You have the whole package. You just don't have any real super heavy specialization, so you're suffering a little bit from the jack of all trades syndrome. But apart from that, if you ever happen to pick up something from another faction that feels exciting for you, go for it. It is really that good. As you see here, tier 4 units are also recruitable sometimes, so that's my last recommendation. So enjoy the build. Leave me your comments down below. I'm going to do one for the Desert Serpent next, and once that's done, I think I will go for the previous old factions that I haven't visited yet. So stay tuned. I'd be really happy to have you guys. Leave a thumbs up on that video for the good old algorithm, and of course, consider subscribing. Check out the description box. You can find plenty of links there to my Discord, to my Twitch, where I stream regularly, and also PayPal, Patreon, or buy me a coffee. If you'd be so kind to support the channel, I'd be forever grateful. You can also check out the YouTube membership system, where you can preview all the things that I have scheduled for release, so that'd be an option for you as well. That all being said, thanks for supporting the channel, and many thanks to you right there watching this video right now. I really appreciate that you go through all of this until the very end. So have a wonderful day, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.